Identical twins, Tegan and Sara Quin, started making music in mid-90s Calgary, where they were born and grew up. Since then, they've won Juno Awards, a Governor General's Award, and performed at the Oscars. And while they were busy doing all that, they've also been out advocates for LGBTQ rights, launching the Tegan and Sara Foundation in 2016 to advance issues of economic justice and health for LGBTQ girls and women. They're currently on tour with a new album entitled Hey, I'm Just Like You, as well as a memoir called High School. And all of that brings Tegan and Sara to our studio tonight. So great to meet you two.
You too.
Okay, now, obviously I didn't grow up with your music, so you could be messing with me right now. Tegan and Sara, right?
You got it, yeah. Nailed it.
You're not...
We are not swapping spots.
You're not messing with me.
Very happy with being ourselves.
There was a show on TV when I was a kid, the Patty Duke Show, where they played identical twin cousins.
Yeah.
And they used to exchange places all the time and date each other's whatever.
Yeah.
You're not doing that.
No, and it's funny because we get asked that quite frequently, and
Well,
I think a lot of the misconceptions about twins, maybe this is their origin, is Patty Duke's show.
Well, for people my age, that's right.
Yeah.
Let's start with this. Why would one want to revisit high school years since most of us want to forget our high school years? Sara, start us off.
You know, it's a fair question, and we get asked it all the time, even by the people we went to high school with. You know, for us, it's our origin story. It's where we learned to be songwriters. It's when we first started writing music and performing live. It's when we got our first record deal. It's when we started to experiment with our identity. As twins, we wanted to be individuals. We wanted to strike out on our own for the first time. And also when we discovered that we were both gay and we started having these relationships. And because all of those things, you know, applied to the career we've built in the public space, we felt it was owed to our fans to give them a thorough explanation.
What's your explanation of that?
I really didn't want to make a record, but I wanted to be creative, and I thought that writing a book would be a really interesting challenge for us. I think Sara and I are still relevant after 20 years because we never play it safe, and we're always looking for new paths, and I thought writing our origin story would be an exercise in growing some new creative muscle. And in the midst of writing the book, we found all our demos from high school and we ended up making a record. So it was win-win. Everyone got what they wanted.
Got it. Well, yeah, obviously I understand how you two collaborate to make music.
Yeah.
But it is difficult for two people at once to write a book, right? How does one do that?
We actually used the same approach we do to making music, which a lot of times when people find out that we don't sit together and work on music collaborating the way people imagine people strumming their guitars and singing with each other, we primarily work in the computer. We use music recording programs. We send files to each other and work from our home studios separately. And we often only really start to be in the same room with each other when we go into the studio to make the album. And so with the book, we really used the same approach. We both worked from home. We had written quite a detailed timeline so that we knew what the story we were telling was, and we sort of kept to our lanes. But we worked for months on our own, and then eventually we started to compile the draft and give each other feedback, fill gaps, jog each other's memories.
Well, let me pick up on that, because I'm assuming there were moments where you remembered something very differently from the way she remembered it. And what did you do then?
Absolutely. There are definitely moments in the book that are completely wrong. But you know, it's Sara's side. That's why we didn't choose to interfere with each other's process too much. I think that memory is really interesting, and I think we play with memory in a really different way than people typically get to, because there are two perspectives, and there are key moments in the book where we allow each of our memory to live in harmonious conflict, I guess, or harmonious conflict with each other. I think that that's part of the reason that we felt inspired to write the book, is because we are identical twin sisters who grew up down the hall from each other, but we had really different interior worlds. My experience of being queer or writing music and getting through high school really was different from Sara. And not just my memory of it, looking through journals, looking through the songs we wrote, we really were distinct people. And a lot of the identity that we hold on to now was established during that time. And I think we felt like it was important to put into our own words how different we are, and to allow ourselves to sort of stand on our own as independent people.
I was going to get to this later, but since we're here right now, you two, as identical people, you did not have identical existences, obviously, but you're the same DNA.
Yeah.
You're obviously both gay your whole lives.
Yeah.
One of you knew it before the other one, or one of you was prepared to come out before the other one,
Yeah.
or one of you was experiencing it before the other one?
Yeah.
What? This may be a ridiculous question, but why were you not experiencing it at the same time?
I mean, I think that I could easily turn that question on did you discover your identity and sexuality, and did you have the same level of confidence as the people you grew up with? I mean, everybody sort of figured themselves out at different times. Some people have their most significant relationships with a romantic partner in college or when they become adults. And I don't think that's a gay or straight thing. I think that's just it's a sort of like, environmental thing. Where are you at with your self-esteem? Where are you at with your body? Are you comfortable with people? Do you relate to other people? Do you know the right kinds of people that you would get into relationships with? And I think for me, I just happened to meet someone when I was 14 years old. We really clicked. We thought we were best friends. And that sort of organically turned into something different.
Okay, but I guess what surprises me the most is, as close as you two are,
Yeah.
you were not sort of comparing notes on all of this right from the get-go.
No.
You know what I think?
I was terrified to tell T.
Now, why would you be? She's the
was-
closest person in the world to you.
I think because, without getting too deep, I think the truth is that I was afraid to admit it to myself. So who's the closest person to me? It's Tegan. So I think this idea that by admitting my sexuality or what was going on with my best friend, telling Tegan would have been worse than almost admitting it to myself. And so, for me, it was about, how do I protect myself? How do I protect this thing that is happening to me, inside of me, whatever? The first person I want to keep it from is this other person who knows me. And I also thought Tegan was gay too, and so I was terrified for both of us.
Why'd you make that face when you said that?
I mean,
she
was
didn't
kind of a-
she didn't really know yet.
I was
hadn't
stoked.
figured it out.
I also want to interject and just say that I think one of the really significant things about writing the book was not just talking about our sexuality, but talking about us establishing we were musicians. And to me, I think that what I realized was that while we weren't sitting down and saying, hey, I know that you're hooking up with this girl, or are you struggling with your sexuality, we were using a different vocabulary and language, which was music. I mean, we were very, very honest in our music. We sung about a lot of the things we were going through. And Sara and I were each other's first audience. And I just wonder if we didn't need to sit down and tell each other everything, because we were already communicating in a really different way.
Through the music.
Yeah, like I think people are like, think twins are telepathically communicating. We can't, spoiler, but I do think music, it did allow us to talk to each other in a unique and coded way that made it safe to share. Like I could bring a song to Sara and sing it to her and felt like it was a safe space. So I wonder if we just didn't need to speak about things.
Well, let's do a little excerpt from the book here. This is you writing now, Sara, in the book. You are Sara, right? This is you writing in the book. In junior high, when rumors about girls kissing other girls at sleepovers spread through the school, I immediately felt implicated. It wasn't me at the center of the drama, but it could have been. There could be nothing worse than being called a lesbian, especially if you were one.
Yeah.
Unpack that for me. Why was that such hell?
I think that even as early as probably 6th or 7th grade, I knew that I was probably gay, and I knew that my feelings for girls certainly were different than the way that my girlfriends felt about me. And that's that terrible age where you're right on the cusp of teenage years, adolescence, puberty, and I started to hear horrible words being thrown around about girls or guys who were allegedly engaging in same-sex activity. These were terrible words. I mean, lesbian is not a word I identify with. I've never liked it, but I can remember people calling each other les in school. And it was like, if you were called that, it was like social...
Game over.
It was social hell for anyone. And a lot of times these girls were not gay. They were just fooling around or having their first taste of alcohol and then on a dare kissing another girl. I was doing none of those things. I just was socially observing that if you even had a rumor about you like this, it could ruin you. And because I knew, I didn't want the rumor about me, but I also knew that I probably was gay. And so I just was like, I gotta be the opposite of that so I don't get implicated.
I have to tell you, Tegan, I find that fascinating. We're 20 years apart in age here. And certainly there was plenty of homophobia when I was at that age.
Sure. Yeah.
And you certainly did not want to be thought of in that way.
Yeah. Sure.
Back in the late 60s, early 70s. But you're 20 years after me. Are you saying it was not any better then?
I think representation in terms of LGBTQ lifestyles and identities was still really, really, really marginalized, and there was still just very few opportunities for people to see themselves reflected back. So for us, there was just very few queer stories that we could hold on to. Finding a vernacular and comfort and identifying with a character in a show or in a book was just so limited. The only gay people that I knew of were like Ricky from a TV show called My So-Called Life and Katie Lang. And you know, when you're 15 years old, that's just not enough, you know, to not ever see any models represented to you of who you are. I mean, heterosexual people see that all the time. Everything is for heterosexual people.
And I don't think Katie was out right from the beginning either.
No, but when we were teenagers, she was on the cover of Vanity Fair with Cindy Crawford. But like again, like I mean, so that's like one representation. So I think things had changed a lot probably from how you grew up. Just like times have changed so much even since we were in high school. But I absolutely think there was still a stigma.
And there still is now.
And there still is now too. But I
now.
think for me, and this is where our identities, you know, differ or our experiences differ, is that I don't recall as much homophobia or fear or shame as Sara does. And that was very eye-opening to really read it on the page, to see that we really do, even as adults, we're very different about our identity. I don't have a lot of the shame or inner homophobia. I don't worry about holding my partner's hand. I have.
And you do, or you did?
Oh, I absolutely did. But I think that was also about the fact that I was basically maintaining and hiding a romantic relationship with a girl from the time I was 14 until I was 18 years old. Tegan had a boyfriend. I mean, he wasn't even a boyfriend. I take those air quotes away. She had a boyfriend.
Thank you.
They both
He was my boyfriend.
They both,
no air quotes.
They both admit that it was a bit of a relationship of convenience. They both ended up being gay, but I didn't have anyone to hide with. I didn't. I was essentially having the relationship, and I think that it did create a bit of a trauma for me. I felt always on guard. I got caught, my first significant girlfriend in high school, we got caught. You know, we were confronted by her mother. I was confronted by my mother. I was confronted by my sister. I was definitely dealing with the fear and reality that that I could be found out, and then what was I going to do with that? I didn't know. I was a teenager and I had no idea. Did it mean my friends were going to hate me? Did it mean I was going to be in danger? Because a lot of times, Tegan's right, we didn't have representation, but what I remember seeing of gay people was usually them being hurt, or you know, or I'm thinking like HIV/AIDS and the activist movement in the 80s around that, and like,
well,
you know,
remember too, still in the late 90s,
things.
we weren't equal citizens. I mean, we weren't allowed to get married. So I think it's a psychological, like for me, the memory of growing up as a queer person, some of it's just psychological. It's like you don't see yourself, you don't have your story represented, and we didn't have equal rights. And so whether or not someone beat us up or bullied us, you grow up thinking that you're not equal. You're not.
Okay, got a couple of follow-ups
not
here.
the same.
Okay.
Did she pave your path a little bit because she got there first?
It's an excellent question. Yes, because Sara came out first. She bore the brunt of the response and the reactions, and she kind of bravely went out and kind of covered that ground for me. I think that that also influenced how we reacted to each other. Like for me, seeing Sara go through it, it sort of made me run away. Like I was like, I'm not ready to come out. I think seeing how it affected her definitely made me think like, I'm gonna wait to come out. I'm gonna wait till I have like a serious girlfriend and then go through with this, you know.
And the follow-up for you is all of those questions you just asked. Is this gonna ruin my life? Is this gonna ruin my friendship? Am I gonna be a social pariah?
Yeah.
How much of that came true?
Well, I mean, that's a whole other memoir. I mean, you know, it's not always easy, and I think that, you know, we focus a lot right now on like the progress that the queer community has made and our legal successes and victories. But I think it's also important to recognize that like my experience as a queer woman, as a white cisgendered queer woman who now has, I talk on TV, I get to be on stage, I'm applauded, I'm given awards for things. My experience is very different than somebody who is not in the same position that I am in. And a lot of the work that we do with our foundation is around people who are more marginalized, who do not have visibility, who don't have representation, who are sometimes being kicked out of their schools, their communities, their churches, the military, whatever it is. And we're in 2019, like these things still do happen. And so while I have had a really successful adulthood, I'm very proud of my queerness, I'm partnered and very happy. Yes, I've definitely experienced, certainly within the professional landscape, homophobia and misogyny for 20 years. And that was what I feared. I thought I wouldn't be able to have a career. We have been able to, and I'm grateful for that.
Where do you two live now?
Vancouver.
Vancouver.
You're in Vancouver now?
Yeah.
Okay. So the news of the fact that we have had an openly gay premier in Ontario is certainly not news to you.
No.
But I wonder what kind of impact it made on you.
I mean, we've seen tremendous change, and I think it's every single day there's just an enormous gratitude and relief that the world has changed so much, and it's incredible to see people in positions of power who identify as LGBTQ living happy out lives or coming out and starting to embrace that lifestyle. It happens every day. Sara and I still know plenty of public figures who are closeted. We know people who just work regular jobs, regular lives, who are still closeted, and it's so meaningful when people in positions of power come out. So it's a thrill to me when it happens.
Do you ever try to encourage those who are still, I don't, you'll help me with the right vocabulary here. I don't know, not living honest lives or not living open lives, or what's the expression I should be using?
I think there's an enormous amount of pressure and a tremendous amount of coverage over the idea that everyone needs to come out to be living honest or happy lives. I think lots of people live variations of that. I know plenty of people who are out in almost every area of their life, but maybe their parents are older and religious and they don't want to, ruin their relationship with them.
The mayor of Ottawa is a man in his late 50s. He just came out a couple of months ago.
Yeah, that was a beautiful story. I think the big message here is that everyone is different. Everyone comes out at some point, or they don't, but ultimately it's their choice. And I think that we are still in a place in this world where we need to be kind and compassionate to people who are within the LGBTQ community, because they are still marginalized, as Sara said. I think for Sara and I, part of why we share a story and why we speak so openly about who we are is we do want to present a model that you can be successful and you can be happy and healthy and come out. But Sara's right, that's not right for everybody. And one thing we tell parents who come to our shows who have LGBTQ kids is it's not a race. And people need to get to a place when they feel good about it, when they feel their life and is at a place where they could share this information. And for everyone, it really is different, So we try not to put any pressure on people, no matter what. Even if you're not out, you're awesome.
Sometimes a little bit of pressure.
I mean, okay, a little bit.
That's what I'm wondering.
Look, people
in
in public positions, yes. But I think that it's important to distinguish between that. I think that
if you're not safe,
you don't have power
or you don't
privilege,
have,
you don't have to.
If it's going to hurt your employment and that's going to hurt your, your family or whatever. There's so many reasons why people don't come out of the closet, whatever that looks like for each person.
But if it's just going to make it so that you only get a $10 million paycheck instead of $20 million from whatever big Hollywood movie you're in, it's like, yeah, please come out.
Then you're a monster.
Yeah.
What was your first song?
Like that I wrote?
Yeah.
Oh, I wrote a song called Tegan Didn't Go to School Today.
Are you still not going to school, Tegan?
I did not
We
like
often
school.
did it.
Yeah.
We did often skip school. I think my first song was an attempt to protect myself. I wanted to make it sort of silly, just in case it wasn't good, that I could be like, this is just a joke. I'm not serious. But when everybody really liked the song, I was 15, and I remember everyone, my parents and Tegan, my first fans,
everyone who mattered.
Everyone who mattered loved it, and I remember thinking like, oh, this is fantastic.
Should we play some of it?
Yeah.
If you have it, sure.
Which one have we got queued up? Oh, don't believe the things they tell you.
Oh,
Great.
sure,
Yeah.
You're gonna do some of that?
Sure, I can do that.
Mr. Director, roll it, please.
I don't wanna be a liar, but I do it every day. I don't wanna be so tired, but I can't sleep anyway. Don't believe the things they tell you they lie.
This is one of these great Vanity Fair questions, that you see on the back of the page, which is sort of, under what circumstances is it okay to lie to somebody?
Well, we did a lot of lying when we were teenagers. I think some of it was probably more self-protection, like keeping our sexual identity or sexuality a secret for a long time. That felt like a fair lie, again, just to protect ourselves till we were ready to come out. But we call ourselves dirtbags. I mean, we were kind of like the worst. My mom went to school, worked evenings. My stepdad did the best he could filling in. And we'd go right into their wallets and bags and steal money and use it to buy lots of different things, including LSD.
And I've looked through the book, and that's not the worst thing you two
that is not
have
the worst
gotten away
thing
with.
that we did. No. So we told a lot of bad lies too. I don't know if there is a good lie. I suppose the only appropriate or suitable, approved circumstance to use a lie is if you are going to lie by omission to protect someone's feelings. I don't think that was the kind of lying we were doing.
No, I don't think so either. But you did, I think I remember reading something about the fact that you used to wear very, even baggier than this jacket that you're wearing right now. You
We
wore
were
baggy
ravers.
clothes.
Yeah.
To sort of disguise the fact that well, whatever.
Yeah,
right?
that we had bodies.
Yes.
Yeah.
So at what point did you sort of get comfortable with who you physically actually were?
Sarah's like,
And like,
She's not there
at
yet.
all yet. I don't know. I think, sometimes you're just born into your skin and you just feel a bit off. And I think that, tying it back into this idea of lying and, acting out, I think there was a little bit of cry for help in some of our behavior in high school. I think that we were struggling with our discomfort and distress about our bodies, our sexuality, and the sort of like turbulence around us. And in some ways, identifying yourself, like when you mark yourself as like an alternative person, like, look at my big chain and my big pants and my big jacket. I mean, we were sort of screaming like, hello, like we are different, we are alternative, we are.
well, maybe there's some control in that. You know, if you feel like you're an outsider and you and embrace it the way that we did, in a way you gain control over it. It's like, well, you're going to look at me and I'm going to be different anyway, so I might as well take control over that. So we were very strange. We were not trying to blend in.
No.
You just dropped 3 letters that I want to follow up on.
Great.
And those 3 letters were?
Let me guess. L,
S, D. Yes, correct. How much do you think the drug use affected your formative years?
We were able to find a lot of notes and journals and things from that time period, and it was like something I had remembered was that we did a lot of LSD, but there was a small part of me that thought, are we exaggerating the use? And then found all the journals and notes, and it was right there in black and white.
So you were not exaggerating it?
No, we were taking it quite a bit, like multiple times a week.
Did your folks know?
No, I think that they thought maybe we were smoking pot from time to time, but we were good liars and we hid it really well. I'll say this, I don't have children. I haven't done drugs in 20 years, and so I certainly don't want to like create a how-to or encourage people. I like I said, I don't do drugs now, but I think as teenagers it was a super important phase of our lives. I think for Sara and I, we were very estranged. We were very cut off from one another. I think we were very uncomfortable in our bodies. We were both obviously on the cusp of figuring out we were queer and had a lot of questions and discomfort around that. We were also very bright. We're very quick. We're very charismatic. We weren't traditional learners. We didn't do well in school in the sense that like we weren't great at being caged, and we went to a gigantic public school with huge classrooms and we didn't get enough attention. And I think that drugs helped us to lighten up a bit and to be creative and also to enjoy each other and to get along. And I think for us that was super important, and I think it had a tremendous effect on who we became. But we also got out of it. We had each other, we policed one another, and we were able to come out of it because we had music. So I'm like hesitant to encourage people to do it because
I'm
you
glad to hear
probably
that.
wouldn't have the same success we did.
Well, I am curious about how much the drug use you felt was responsible for whatever creativity you felt brewing inside you.
It's like, it's really hard not to want to project more importance between those two things. What I will say is this. If we were talking about the Beatles right now, you seem like someone maybe who likes the Beatles.
You are correct.
Okay, just a wild guess. But the Beatles, they're totally honest about
They experimented with drugs,
and they experimented with their minds, and they pushed themselves because they were adults.
But I bet you Paul's clean today, and the Rolling Stones don't do drugs, and all these guys. I mean, they get to a certain point where you stop doing it.
You do, and there's no question that this was not going to be like a lifelong thing that we did. But I do think that there is like some discomfort culturally and socially when young women talk about their drug use, because I think often it's just used as a way to say like, don't do this because you'll die or it'll lead to this other thing, which in a lot of cases it does.
Yes.
But in our case, just like with the Beatles, yes, I am comparing us to the Beatles right now. What I think is important to talk about is that sometimes creative endeavors, collaborations, moments in life, they do require some lubrication for the mind.
So the word is require. You think you
Yeah.
could not have been as creative without the drugs?
I believe that everything we have done has led us to the place where we are. And I do believe that there was a significant importance. When we discovered drugs, we also discovered our creativity. We discovered this collaborative energy.
Well, music
we created
and
a world for
community,
ourselves.
we did. We created a whole world. So for us, it was a big part of that.
It was. I don't want to like oversell that, but it's true. It just is. It's how we got to where we
Now,
are.
she's clean 20 years. How about you?
Let me just say this. I lived in California the last
You have
couple
not
of
taken.
years.
Yeah, but you have not taken LSD.
I have not done LSD since the 1990s. But I indulge here or there in legal substances.
You have the odd marijuana cigarette.
Sure.
Got it.
Or
Okay.
like a gummy bear, and you only ever have one. That's my warning to you.
I've just been told in my ear by
Stop
the
talking about drugs?
No, by the 30-year-old young female producer, Kara Stern, nobody says marijuana cigarette anymore. So, you know,
I would probably say it.
What do you say?
I don't know. I'd probably say like smoke weed. I don't
smoke
know.
weed, okay.
Or like
We called it a doobie back
joint.
in my day.
Yeah, like a
joint.
joint.
I don't
Yeah.
think we'd say doobie, but
Oh, I hope this part makes it into the show. That
The
you guys
whole
don't
thing's
cut it
going in,
out.
honey. We don't
great.
cut.
This is wonderful.
Because I just
Oh my God.
imagine someone like rolling past this channel and just being like, "What on earth is happening?
What are they talking about?
What are they talking about?"
What are these two hip young
Yeah,
people
yeah.
doing talking to this square guy in a suit and tie? I just don't get
This is delightful.
that. It is actually. And you know what I was fabulous, I mean, we should fess up here. Before the camera started rolling, we chatted a little bit, just because we never met before. You love Frank Sinatra.
I do.
You like Frank Sinatra.
Sure.
But you love Frank Sinatra, which
I'm-
will always make you my favorite.
You know,
Twin sister.
I
I'm
don't
sorry.
know what to say. Since my mid-20s, I've had a deep obsession with, you know, the Rat Pack and Frank Sinatra and Palm Springs. I
How
go
did
there
that
every
happen?
year. I don't know. I always joke that I'm kind of like, I like.
It's probably like those like soundtracks that play over the Christmas holidays at Starbucks. Tegan probably like.
Yeah, I kind of deeply got into it. I don't know. I like the history.
You're nostalgic.
Calling for Palm Springs. I like his voice. I like that he was kind of like a bad guy.
That's it, eh? Like, I know you two are a couple of badasses. Frank was the biggest
He was kind
badass
of
there was.
He was a badass, and then he was like kind of singing like this music that wasn't really badass. And there's something about the juxtaposition of knowing that he was like kind of a bad guy, and then this music. I don't know. It delights me.
I want to ask you, unfortunately, we only got a few minutes here, and I got 20 questions that I haven't got to
we'll
yet.
try to speak
But
smaller sentences.
here we go. You wrote about a teacher who let you use a radio broadcast classroom to record your first album, and you apparently convinced him by telling him that he could be the guy who's responsible for, you know, helping create this Grammy Award-winning duo.
Yeah.
And in fact, you have been nominated for a
You'd be
Grammy.
delighted to know that a friend of ours ran into him the other day at a coffee shop. They took
This
a
is-
selfie, and he's like, I did that. I helped to make. He took credit. Where credit is due, he took it.
So he knows. He
Yes.
knows you've
Oh,
been
he's
successful.
quite aware. Yeah.
Yeah.
He was a delightful man. He was really generous because we were obnoxious and we took full advantage
He had
of him.
incredible patience.
There
with
was
us.
there was no way in which we did not take advantage of this man or the classroom that he supervised us in.
Where was this, Calgary?
It was in Calgary. It was at our high school, and it was a broadcasting and communications class that was specifically focused on radio. So it was like you would come in and learn about the microphones and the equipment, and you would make radio shows. And we were like, boring. Like, we don't want to do that. And so we would use all the equipment to make demos, record our music. We used to take out the film cameras and film our friends, and we would make documentaries. Is what we really like to do. And so we did used to record music, but our main focus in that class was making documentaries. And so we would sign out the equipment and we would go through the school and we would ask people
he was
questions.
like, you're not doing the assignments, but just turn something in, anything so I can give you a passing grade, which,
Yeah.
I mean, we loved him
we did.
for.
But
That's
the
a great
documentary
teacher.
footage is remarkable because
This isn't a short answer at all.
Sorry, yeah. But it is fascinating because what he sort of like unknowingly gave us was the freedom to sort of investigate ourselves at that age. By recording music, by asking our friends questions,
Yeah.
by putting together these stories and footage. It was
It's
it was
the only
wonderful.
class I remember as being at all useful to me.
No, we had a great drama teacher. We had great
Okay,
English
drama as
teachers.
well, sure.
There was some good people.
If you make it through, whatever, 12 or 13 years of school, and you have one teacher who made an impact,
Yeah.
you did well.
Yeah.
Yes, I
Yeah.
So
agree.
you did well.
We
Yeah,
did.
we did. We had a couple that were great.
We did have some really
for you.
wonderful teachers.
You know, first of all, can I tell you how exciting it was to actually meet you two and talk about you two?
Thank you for having
'cause,
us.
No, it was delightful. Obviously, I didn't grow up with your music, but I've been playing it, and I think it's terrific. You two are fabulous.
Thank you.
And I think it's so kind of quaint that you chose such old-style formats in which to tell some stories here.
Yes.
That's the book, High School, Tegan and Sara. Yes, they write books. And look at this. It's like real vinyl in there.
Yeah.
How about that?
We do all
Vinyl.
our records on vinyl. Our fans love
Yeah.
the hard product.
Hey, I'm just like you.
Hey, I'm just
Yeah.
like you.
Actually, I'm nothing like you two, but it's great. I think it's
We
great
found some
anyway.
common ground.
Yes, we have.
Yes.
We definitely have, because it had to be you.
Oh, you
It had
two.
to be you.
I see a joint family vacation happening
Don't say
in the
joint.
future.
I don't do that. Okay, that's Tegan and Sara Quin. Great to have you here at TVO tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
The Agenda with Steve Paikin is brought to you by the Chartered Professional Accountants of Ontario. CPA Ontario is a regulator, an educator, a thought leader, and an advocate. We protect the public. We advance our profession. We guide our CPAs. We are CPA Ontario. And by viewers like you. Thank you.